And we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 5:30 in the afternoon, June 16th. This meeting has been posted and advertised according to Oklahoma laws. To begin, we'll do a roll call. Councilman Roosevelt.
Here.
Councilman White.
Here.
Councilman Riley.
Here.
Councilman Allen.
Here.
And I'm hoping Councilman Bear will be with us tonight. He hasn't said otherwise. We've asked Councilman Riley to give us a prayer, and then following the prayer, if you would all lead in the pledge of allegiance.
Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for the opportunity to be able to meet. We're thankful for the blessings that being citizens of such a great city offers and provides to us. We're thankful for your blessings upon our city and its citizens. We ask and pray that your Spirit will be with us tonight as we make the decisions that will affect this city and its citizens, and help us to make good decisions. We pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Councilman Riley, for the prayer. We'll look at the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any amendments or changes that need to be made to those minutes? Seeing none, would entertain a motion.
I would like a motion on each different meeting.
Oh,
One for the May 9th and one for the June 2nd.
we didn't approve the minutes from,
We didn't do minutes last, but I did the budget.
okay.
I move we approve the May 9th, 19th minutes. Is that correct, Dave?
I second it.
Motion by Councilman Roosevelt, second by Councilman Riley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Second.
So motion by Councilman Allen, second by Councilman White. As approved, June 2nd minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. We do have a few with us tonight. We do have our public comment period at the beginning of this meeting. Anyone can take up to 3 minutes to address the council for any issue or concern. Are there any here that would like to take that opportunity tonight?
And then is there a way people can ask questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, nobody, I'm the only attendee so far, and, I know. And as they come in, they'll come into a waiting room and I'll admit them. And then they'll be able to read the chat log, which will say, like, if you have any questions, just ask me.
Thank you. Seeing none other, we'll continue with our meeting. First, we have Bart and Annette Miller. Go ahead and come on in.
First, the public comment.
I just need that. Now, this is coming before planning and zoning already at the last meeting, correct?
Yes.
Annette, you want to go ahead and let us know what you're wanting to do there?
Yes, so we have, you can come in. We own this subdivision on Second North. There's 19 lots currently there. There's a home on one of those lots that's on Second North. The rest is undeveloped. We are proposing that we rezone this property to a professional zoning so that it will give us the opportunity to not only build homes in the area, but if we so desire to build quiet commercial kind of things like a doctor's office or an insurance salesman, business, those types of things.
Professional office is the correct title, I think, residential professional office. And so the red is already zoned that way. And Councilman Blusenbach and I were at the planning and zoning meeting where they did already approve this. One of the conversations that was had was to look at the apartment buildings that are in between the current professional office and the proposed and see if they'd be willing to too, but they felt that it wasn't the Miller's problem to wait to see if they wanted to rezone that, but I think in the future, and that was part of the conversation, is to approach those that own those apartment complexes as well and see if they like to zone that. But, are there any questions for the council, for the Millers? Just for the council right
Oh,
now. Sorry.
So it would be all of the lots you have in there?
Mhm.
You might add that professional is defined by code, right, by the city, what professional entails, so it
There are
can't be.
only certain things that we could build there. So it's basically residential and certain types of professional. And it's very, like it lists what you can do.
Any questions? Any other questions?
already approved by the.
Yeah. Well, seeing no other questions, we'll go ahead and consider ourselves in a public hearing, and we'll take comment from the public. If you want to take it easy just for a second, Will, one of the things I'd ask, if you do want to make a comment, if you please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and we'll open that up for anybody that wants to make a comment at this time.
Colleen Bulkhead, 673 West, 150 North. And my question is, on the residential side, what kind of homes are you talking about building? I know in the past, they talked about triplexes in the area. And we were just wondering what kind of residential they were thinking of.
Do you have an idea on that?
They would just be homes like the one that we built previously that faces Second North. Homes like the homes that you live in. It's a total different zoning to do multifamily.
Okay.
What is it currently zoned at?
R16.
R16?
And actually, after we went through this whole thing 10 years ago or whatever, we found out that we actually could have done duplexes and triplexes under this current zoning.
Well,
So the current zoning that it is right now, we could have actually gone ahead with that.
that's why I asked, because I think that's what I was going to say. When you asked the question, it's actually,
Already it was, but nobody let us know that or helped us understand that, I should say.
but as the residential professional office, I can't remember, I don't think there's multifamily units that are allowed in that, are there?
I don't know. I just know that it addresses like dentist and therapy offices, you know, quiet office.
I think if,
businesses.
from what I went through with, Dean, it's like conditional use. So we could do like a duplex, but we have to come in and get conditional use.
Right, it's a lot more stringent process.
Yes.
To be able to do that, so. Any other questions? Thank you for your question. Are there any others from the public?
Any online? Okay. Yes, sir.
Seeing none, we'll end the public meeting and consider ourselves back in the regular session. Any other questions or comments from the council?
You may want to make a motion to, if you're going to pursue it.
Well, I just making sure there's no more discussion first. Seeing none, would entertain a motion.
Move to approve. I'll second it.
Okay, motion to approve by Councilman White and second by Councilman Busenbark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So that'll be changed.
What that will require is an ordinance, and so we'll have to advertise the public hearing for the ordinance, which will be on next meeting.
Correct. So
So do we need to do that?
you don't necessarily need to be to the next meeting, no. But we will incorporate that in an ordinance, and as soon as the ordinance is created, then we'll approve that ordinance. So, So you don't have to come if you don't want to. So. Perfect. Final budget hearing for fiscal year. It says 2000 through 2021. I'm
See, mine said the
guessing.
same thing, but theirs doesn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good job.
I'm guessing it's 2020. Through 2021.
Yes, thank you. After the work meeting a couple of weeks ago, did a few revisions. I know that it was mentioned and talked with Ryan, and we felt that the council is willing to budget to tap into some savings to keep up with some of the capital projects, primarily the street maintenance. So there was a little revision from the last time. And that was to budget in $200,000 of appropriated fund balance or accumulated earnings to be sure that we meet the capital budget needs of the council wanted us to keep in the budget. The budget is going to be $6,665,800. And every department has known that this is coming. Some departments were affected a little bit more than others due to the nature. We tried to keep the police and public safety as sound as possible. The cuts that came with public safety primarily came with animal control. But every administration, council, everybody is doing their part. And it's my hope that we have a budget reopen where we can not take that appropriated fund balance out. But in order to meet some of the needs and wants of the council, that's what we felt we had to do.
All right. Any questions for Kurt?
When are we supposed to get the numbers for sales tax again? For
Usually,
May?
usually they're anywhere from the 20th to the 24th.
So they should be coming up and that'll give you a better idea on some
Yeah.
things.
This month for June will be the sales tax revenue that was brought in for the month of April. It's typically about 2 months behind. May actually was higher than it was anticipated. The tax commission sent out a preliminary estimate of what it would be, about 145,000, and our sales tax was approximately 165,000. So not to say that's going to continue, but that was a nice pleasant surprise.
That's the right direction.
Yeah, that's exactly. And as I said before, we don't have as broad of an economy with lots of hotels, lots of retail, so it will definitely affect us, but it may not affect us as much as more broadly diversified economies.
Perfect. And so just to let the public know, 2 weeks ago, we went over the budget for fiscal year 2020 and 2021. And so, I mean, we went through that thoroughly. But, and so you've made those changes on this?
Yes, on this. And
So-
this is the one that was made available to the Roosevelt City website and the public meeting notice website was a week ago.
Perfect.
The original, the one we talked about 2 weeks ago, you tried to do about a 10%. So you had to add a little bit on, so it's not quite.
It's not quite 10% because of the capital projects. That's the
One of the questions that was brought up today and when we were meeting with Ryan is is there budgeted a raise for the employees in that?
yes.
And if so, what is that?
Well, there's two components to deal. There's a 2.5% cost of living adjustment, and also the health insurance benefits increased by 7%, and that's budgeted in with these costs.
What's the, do you know what the 2.5% all the employees equals as far as the bottom
It's
line?
approximately about between $78,000 and $80,000, and the additional benefit. And well, in addition to the health insurance, a couple meetings ago, we talked about the public safety, the police officer,
Right.
that is factored in there too. And the benefits were about 35 to 40% of that $80,000.
Okay. So including 7% increase in the 2.5 COLA, that's the total 78 to 80,000. 000.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on that? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and, where this is a public hearing for the budget as well, we'll open it up to the public and consider ourselves in a public hearing. Are there any comments, questions, concerns from the public on the proposed budget? Seeing none, we'll end the or the public hearing and consider ourselves back in regular session. And unless there's any other questions for Kurt, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the budget.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Luzenmark and second by Councilman Allen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, but that passes unanimously. Budget reopened fiscal year, and I have another typo, 2009, but 2019, I'm guessing is 2020.
Yes, fiscal year 2020. And this is what we talked about at our last meeting. I grabbed the wrong paper. Sorry. And this is what we just discussed in our last meeting about how anticipated revenues between sales tax and the various revenue sources are estimated to be down approximately $250,000. The original 2020 approved amended budget, because it was reopened and amended in November, was $7,330,050. Proposing that a reduction be to $7,081,350, just due to the decrease in revenue. And actually, the expenses of the city are going to be well under that budgeted amount, with a lot of the changes that have taken place. A lot of the salary and administrative costs weren't as budgeted. So that's
What are you saying, Kurt?
that.
We were paying a few people a lot of money?
Well,
I'm just kidding.
what I'm saying is you had 2 or 3 people in this room who were doing the jobs of 2 or 3 people.
Thank you.
If I may be so bold.
I know which ones they are. Great. Are there any questions on that? So the budget would be amended from the 7.3 million to 7,081,000
Yes.
to reflect actual revenue.
Anticipated, actually, yes.
Any other questions from council? Great. Seeing none, we consider ourselves in a public hearing and would entertain any questions or comments from the public. Seeing none, we'll end the public hearing and consider ourselves back in regular session and would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the reopened fiscal year budget 2020. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate all your help.
Yeah, Kurt, thanks for all your work.
I know what these guys have done. That's why I say it's, we really appreciate how hard they work.
And the department heads too for all their work.
Yeah, it's
And Ryan,
a great place, great to work here. I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah,
we're
we're
glad
grateful to
you're
have you.
here.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
All right, we have our first appointment for that. I'm guessing, I didn't get to see like the actual, but we will turn the time over to Stephanie Carter, and I know your name, Richards. But I know that's not your name. So anyway, we'll turn the time to you. I'm guessing that you're here for the ribbon celebration activity. Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. So my name is Stephanie Carter. I'm Director of Marketing and Recruiting at UB Tech. And we have thought of a really fun activity that we would like to do. A couple years ago, the Rotary Club tied blue ribbons throughout Roosevelt City. And we want to duplicate that, but we're going to tie orange. Orange represents endurance and joy and determination. And during the time of what we're seeing with the small businesses, we just want to tie orange ribbons around the community to signify a thank you to our small businesses, and hopefully community members will join in and we'll see orange throughout the communities, and it's just a silent thank you to our small businesses. And we would like to do that on July 23rd. Oh, that just slipped me. July 27th, and then we will take them down on August 3rd. So it will be a 7-day thing, and we just wanted the permission to be able to tie ribbons and things like that on city property. We want to line up that with Main Street.
I think that's a good idea. Are there any questions or concerns about that?
Are they, no advertising, just orange ribbons? Or are they gonna
We'll
have
do
you?
some advertising. Thank you for that. The other thing that we do want to have is a banner kind of explaining what it is in a few words, basically like a billboard, and put that banner along the bridge there by Strata. That chain link.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so when you drive by, you kind of, at least, there's some information on why there's orange ribbons, but it'll be on social media.
I almost said something that I shouldn't have. Well, I didn't say it. I thought something to say it. I was just wondering if you could cover up some particular, like you could put your banners over some particular political signs and cover those as well. Anywhere you find some, and I'll let you know which ones. But feel free to just put your banner over those as well. I'm just kidding.
Come down.
So you'll have the explanation on social media, you'll have a poster or something up explaining the orange, then you'll put the orange, are the orange ribbons just orange ribbons, or is it gonna have like, I don't really care, I'm just curious if they'd have UV tech or something on them, or they're just orange ribbons?
In fact, we have in mind just getting plastic table covering that's orange and just cut those in
Okay,
long strips. So it would be like a plastic.
Okay. I think it's great. Anything we can do to kind of boost the morale of our community and those types of things, and for a good purpose. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions? Any concerns from staff?
I don't. I'm excited for it. And I spoke with them earlier and we're on board, and we'll have our side too as far as getting the word out so everybody kind of knows what's going on. Doesn't tear them down or.
there's no safety issues with putting them up where you're gonna put them or anything, like, I know if it's on the street, right, like the flags, you have to just make sure people are safe, right?
Yeah, the last time they did this, I didn't think there was any issues.
I didn't figure there would be, I just thought I'd ask, I don't want people in the street tying a ribbon or something.
I helped the Rotary Club do that with the blue ribbons when it was like a silent thank you for our police officers.
Oh, nice.
I just remember reaching as high as I could.
In my mind, it's perfect timing too, because I know UBIC's been canceled, but there's a lot of people in our community that have wanted to do activities, events, and those types of things. And so we're going to organize some of those things, and it'll be around that same time. So that's something that may be incorporated with that as well.
Yes, that's why we had that week in mind.
Perfect. So one of the things we'll have at our next Parks and Rec Committee, we'll be talking about some of those events and other things that will be happening about the same time and try to coordinate all those as well. You're welcome to come.
Cool, that would be awesome.
So if you or somebody, you could stand and coordinate some of those efforts and activities, I think would be fun. So if you want to do, whatever we can help with.
Perfect. That's awesome.
That's timely. That'll work out good with what else. I think we're planning. So perfect. Well, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. And I don't know if I introduced Jolie Moynier, but she is a college recruiter at UTech.
I've known her a long time, but I forgot her first name. Her last name.
Amelia.
But appreciate you being here. And I guess, do we need a motion for that? I guess we might as well. Do we have a motion to approve the request?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Councilman White and a second by Councilman Busenbark. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Perfect. Thank
Thanks
you.
for being such a great partner in our community too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
let us know if you think of anything and we'll help with the, Parks and Rec Committee
Yeah,
and collaborate. That'd be great.
it'll be interesting. It'll be fun this year.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Roosevelt City Fraud Risk Assessment Presentation. Kurt, you're back
Yeah,
up.
seen me a lot today. Just a little bit of background. The Utah State Auditor's Office is implementing some self-evaluation for all the cities, towns, special services, all the governmental entities in the state of Utah. And this is a fraud risk assessment where we evaluate ourselves based upon certain policies, procedures, whether we have, like, for example, audit committee, those types of things. There is and their background, it's what it says in the guide is this guide's designed to help measure and reduce the risk of undetected fraud, abuse, and non-compliance in local governments of all types and sizes. There's a questionnaire, there are 2 pages, and they should be in your packet. There's a basic separation of duties questionnaire, and then the fraud risk assessment. And the basic separation of duties asks questions such as, does the entity have a board chair, clerk, and treasurer who are 3 separate people? Are all the people who have access to blank checks different than those who are authorized signers? And going through that list of 12 questions, there were 10 of them that could be answered yes. But there were 2 of them, numbers 2 and 3, that couldn't be answered yes, but we have mitigating controls. Meaning we
Can you tell us which ones those are?
It would be the number 2 and 3. I'm sorry, Ryan.
Is it the basic separation of duties?
Yes, basic separation of duties.
It's above that one. Well, mine it was, maybe it's after hours.
It looks like this.
It was after that.
Yeah, I think mine was towards the bottom.
Where we made some new changes and straightened things out administratively. I just want to make sure or see what we missed, because that's
Well-
accounted for.
Keep going.
And part of it is,
Oh, you're missing, yeah.
part of it is, this is a one-size-fits-all type of fraud assessment, whether it's Roosevelt City or Altamont or Salt Lake City.
Gotcha. Maybe if you could just read the 2.
Absolutely. And are all the people who are able to receive cash or check payments different from all the people who are able to make general ledger entries?
You make general ledger entries throughout the man.
He can. And the
Okay.
second one is related to that. Are all the people who are able to collect cash or check payments different from all the people who are able to adjust customer accounts if no customer accounts?
We don't have enough personnel to really track that.
And that's where,
Both those things.
but our mitigating control is, for example, with number 3, it talks about adjust customer accounts. When we do the bank reconciliations every month, there's a report generated that I look at, and then it's reviewed by Ryan and you.
Correct.
That goes over what adjustments may have been made.
Gotcha.
And with the general ledger entries, Randy and I work together with those. So those are our mitigating controls. So the basic separation of duties, if we're able to answer yes or no with mitigating control, we get 200 points.
Awesome.
And then there are some of these I'm not aware if it's been set up in the past. Are employees and elected officials required to annually commit in writing to abide by a statement of ethical behavior? We get 10 points for that.
I can do that.
Yeah, I just got one from Central Utah, and
Yeah.
you need a copy of kind of what they do. I can send that to you.
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah, we'll put that in place.
I'll just do it right now because it's on email.
What was our score overall?
Say
I hadn't
yes.
totaled it yet because I wasn't sure.
I'm just looking at ULCT's fraud risk assessment, and I wondered how we would compare.
And I actually haven't totaled it. The second, and so that would be a no at this point. So then it asks if we have written policies in the following areas: conflict of interest, procurement, ethical behavior, reporting of fraud and abuse, travel, credit purchasing cards, personal use of entity assets, IT and computer, cash receiving deposits. We have all of those policies in place. Does the entity have a licensed CPA as part of its management team? Sadly, no. And number 4A, if no, do any of the members of the management team have a bachelor's degree in accounting? I don't have a bachelor's degree in accounting. I have a bachelor's degree in finance. I wish they'd say it was some type of experience, in public sector finance. So we lose 30 points there. And then, does the entity have a fraud hotline? And
So likely the trust has one that you can utilize
They
and
do.
toss in your policy manual. Yeah. So yes.
I just sent that to you.
Perfect.
And the last two are, does the entity have a formal internal audit function? Internal audits basically make sure we abide by our own policies, and if we have grants and different things, we abide by the terms of the grant. I'm not aware of one. And these are just things to think about in the future. And then finally, does the entity have a formal audit committee? And once again, not that I'm aware.
ULCT, there was 4 of those 20-point questions that they didn't get those points either, so.
So when we have the accountants come in and do the internal audit, does that count for this?
That's an external audit.
Yeah, that's an external audit. This isn't, this is more of an internal audit, so let's see how quickly I can do the math.
I bet we'll be fairly close.
We're at 275.
They were, that's moderate.
Yeah,
Well,
we're-
we're below moderate. And they were 1 point away from being low, so they were gonna figure one of those or several areas to bump it up.
And what are we saying? What's the benchmark we're trying to get?
Well, there's no real benchmark that the auditor's office has mentioned. It's just a self-evaluation. And one thing that needs to be done is we need to be sure that we talk about this in council and that we can indicate that it was, we can show in the minutes that it was talked about, and we have to be able to provide that to auditors, the state auditor's office. Otherwise, it could be not fighting, but they could ding us on that.
Is there anything we can implement at this point? Maybe
Well-
pick one and add it to it to get our, seems like a lot to do, but maybe if we just pick one and do that and get it in place and then work on, or a couple if we can do that.
Well, I think what Melissa was talking about, the right, or ethical statement of ethical behavior, that's really an easy 10 points. And then, well, number 4, we're just gonna have to, unless I get a degree in accounting or become a CPA, then, or you get somebody else, please don't, but, and then the formal internal audit function, this is actually, when I was hired, this is one thing that I'd like to try to lead through, provide some internal audit. Just a good way to keep everybody on their toes. Internal audit could be something is going out and checking on inventory, but making sure the inventory we purchased is still there. That could be an internal audit function. So I
I'm
think,
working on one of those right now, actually.
so that's something that,
Something we can work on, and we can work towards that one. I think that's very doable.
But it would be a good thing to have it in the policy where it's consistent.
Yes.
and so those are some things that can be done. This only needs to be brought before the council every year, every 4 years. But it is something that I'd like to talk about maybe during budget time, just to see how the changes and improvements that have been made.
Well, we appreciate you looking into that. And it's good to know that we're doing really pretty well in a lot of areas, and it's good to know the areas that we need to improve on so that we can make some changes. So I guess probably even as soon as next week, we can look at, get with Melissa, yourself, and in our next meeting, look at some of the things we can do as far as the internal audit committee or something like that, and start looking at putting that in place. Perfect.
And there really doesn't need to be a motion to approve anything, just wanted to be able to approve what was discussed. So,
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you bringing that to our attention and helping us out with that.
and then there will be, well, actually, there won't be anything for the mayor to sign, and we'll have to just prove it was in the minutes, so.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Kurt.
You know, it's amazing all the God you read in the paper here, and it's good that we got some controls in. And I do appreciate, like I said, that we're at least talking about it, and maybe put a couple more in and get ourselves in a good position so we don't have to worry about it. Not that I was ever worried to begin with, but
Never know who will be involved.
Right.
well, some of it's always surprising. You read the paper, someone's been there for 10 years and they've been doing it all 10 years and nobody knew and nobody caught it. It's like, how did they not see that? Sorry.
Definitely good. Good comments. I did see the purchase orders. Did they make it around for review?
Got 4 signatures here.
Okay, I think that's all we need for tonight. So, any questions on purchase orders?
Right.
Seeing none, would entertain a motion.
I move to approve. Second.
There we have a motion by Councilman Riley and a second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Reports from standing committees. We started with Cody last time, didn't we? I don't remember. We'll start with Dustin and work our way around this way. Dustin, do you have anything for us?
Not really. ULCT board meeting yesterday. The big things we're talking about, Utah Leads Together 4.0. Just make sure when that CARES money comes through that we follow the 100-day, 250-day, 500-day plans. Then we did publicly, or we did vote to support chokehold ban bill, the bills that are going to be visited on the Senate floor in their special session. And then just a few of those things that apparently there were some accusations that ULCT didn't support helping the police make their interaction with the public better or something, which was, I don't know where it came from, but because of that, we wanted to be on record as supportive of some of the things that are being proposed to try to help in those areas. That's all it was.
Great, thank you. Councilman Blusenbach, do you have anything for us?
I just have a question. When's the next Parks and Rec?
It'll be July 1st, I believe.
July 1st?
Yep.
I went to the department head meeting yesterday and they're doing a good job as they always have been. It looks like softball's going on. Co-ed, they had like 8 teams, 7 teams. They had men's and women's. They had 7 teams. Men's, I think they had 10 teams. So
That's up from last year.
Yeah, so
Our numbers were better.
So they're going, and I was glad to hear that. I talked, Aaron Brown's trying to keep track of the money earned in the fundraisers. They had quite a, I don't think any of the groups maybe want the numbers out, but the groups that have been going have done really well with the golf course. And I think, as I told him, I said, if we just had a ballpark for the year, so we can let people know that, the golf course raised $1 million for the various, organization programs. I think that's what needs to be advertised and let people know. It's not, it's not just so people can, a few people can go golf and the rest of it, there's things happening there that provide services for the community, like the fundraising. And so I just want to make sure that we're aware. They also brought up the baseball field by the pool, the 2 that they're going to have to start, not now, but eventually take that stuff out and possibly move it up, what they can save up to the.
That contract went to Sunrise today, so that's been turned in. And so it should only be a couple weeks, maybe 2 weeks until that is actually final. So
Anyway, so they, like I said, I just applaud Ryan and the department heads. Everyone's, working hard, doing what they need to. They've cut where they can cut, and they're taking care of things. I think they mentioned adding, was it something up at the baseball, softball, one of the dugouts or something, some fencing or something, and Dustin had a little extra money in his budget that they were able to. The cap, that's what it was. I couldn't remember what it was. Thanks for it. But anyway, I was just impressed with their efforts, and I just, I think, as Kurt said, it's a great place to work. I think there's a lot of really good people working here and trying to do the best they can. And I was glad to hear we're able to keep them paid and give them a COLA and cover the insurance. So it always makes me feel better when you have good people. You want to try to take care of them.
Absolutely.
So anyway.
Thank you. Councilman Riley, do you have anything for us tonight? Councilman Allen?
Kind of going along the same thing with the Parks and Rec meeting, just a few more things. That's what Don said. I don't know if we covered any of this last time. The zoo was canceled. Mindy's gonna start doing her summer theater, but she's looking for a theater as the schools can't use a theater yet, so. Anyway, I imagine once that opens up, she'll be able to go forward with that. Disc golf's in progress.
As mentioned on the theater, Dustin mentioned that a lot of people are now wanting to rent or not to schedule reserve the stage up at the Constitution Park because it's the only place you can do stuff like that. So I don't know if that's.
Talked about it, but I guess it's something that they stay there for quite a while and you have younger age groups and
In the
it
heat.
really wouldn't work out too well for the kids. So I don't know. That's in good hands. She'll figure something out, I'm sure. So Red Mud's good to go. Concert, and we're just kind of working forward to starting the new fields. I've talked to a few people and I've already had volunteers to do a lot of work for free, employees from Burdick, and I think the more we get that out there and talk to people, I think that's something that the community is definitely going to jump in and help us with. So
Yeah, and Kurt and I are actually gonna start working on funding and seeing if we can't find something out there that we can get to go. Because we do have some skin in the game now with the sale and the volunteer work, and so.
I've heard the same thing. A lot of people, there are some that are still a little confused as to why we're building more fields. And so that's something maybe that we could talk about, a way to get that out there that, so I went and talked to the radio, went on the radio and talked about that a little bit. And we did a poll following that segment about would people be willing to help with that? Yes, no, are people in favor of it? Those types of things, and asking questions. And there was a lot of people that are like, why are we building more fields? Because it would be 4 more baseball fields, 2 more soccer fields. And I don't think they understand that we're losing 2 fields, and that's why we're actually doing that. And so if we can get some of that public information out there, maybe we get together and do a press release or some type of something to educate the public on what's happening there and why. And there's already a lot of people that are buying in and want to help. Cody's done an awesome job.
I think you could easily create a social media campaign around that as well, because I was having a conversation with Justin Wines about some of the things that allows us to do. And it's things like we have our competitive teams that travel away from here. And if we have more facilities, especially if they're centrally located, we have the ability to bring those things in instead. And then you're talking about economic benefit to the entire community, which makes people care even if they don't care about baseball.
Right.
And that's a big deal. And I think that we can talk about all of those things. You can appeal to the sports people and to the people who don't care about sports in little snippets of information that are targeted to educate people about what we're doing in life.
One of the things that I really am passionate about, and I know Councilman Allen is as well, and I know Ryan is also, but we kind of have a rough cost estimate as far as what the overall cost of those fields will be. And none of us are really satisfied with how much that is going to be. And we know that if we come together as a community, we can build this as a community through donations, through labor, laying sod, those types of things that are not real technical, but just require manpower. And, you know, as part of our campaign, talking, you know, just putting it out there for the public and saying, we may have a day when we like 100 to 150 volunteers come and just lay sod, and we get all the sod laid and it wouldn't cost anything but the cost of the sod and those types of things. We can build this as a community, especially where our revenues are down, without spending a lot of money. And it's just donations and some time. And I think I just like the thought of bringing the community together to build something instead of just hiring somebody and just paying them money. And I don't know, I just like the idea, the thought of it, especially in the time that we're in. So anyway, yeah.
The last thing is just the trails part. We, the Trails Committee specifically like the mountain bike multi-use. It's been hard to find land, so they've kind of had to move to BLM land, but they've got approval for a trail system just outside of Gusher. It's passed the environmental review and they're good to go. So they're gonna start riding that and maybe do a mountain bike multi-use trail.
I know when Councilman Foster was here, there was a trail made up by the walking park. I didn't realize that was, but you can find that on a map to where to ride bikes. And I had a
Councilman
friend.
Allen was the one that built it.
Well, I had a friend come and he was just pulling up because he brought his bike and wanted to know where to go. And I was like, oh yeah, I knew there was something up there, but I didn't know that it was actually finalized and placed
Say
on. the map.
finalized, but it's.
But he said that there were a few things, but you can see it on there. So I was impressed. And then I think it did show a few things more.
Yeah.
Obviously not the ones they're working on, but there were some other ones over by Ballard.
And, you know, we're doing this, talking about economic downturn and everything. People in this state bike like crazy, and they'll come out here to ride bikes and spend money, so.
To add just to some of that discussion, we do have when we get to that point, we do have a closed session. And I do have since we're going into closed session, later on in the meeting, I'd like to talk a little bit about some property acquisition in that closed session as well. That kind of has to do with some of that. So just don't let me forget. Anything else for us?
Just had a question on the baseball fields. I'm supportive and hope we get it. And I talked to Ryan a little bit, but I also like to make sure we only build what we can afford and not try to. And I agree 100%. If we get the community involved and do that, I think we can do a lot less than what was bid out. But I just, you know, if we can only get two, then let's get two.
Right.
I mean, let's get what we can get, and then, you know, if we have to wait a year to get the next two or whatever, we do it that way.
I agree. One thought about that too is that some of the people were concerned, like, oh, you know, if you do it that way, then the quality is going to suffer. And my thought behind that is absolutely not. We're still going to use the same. We're not going to chintz on the components, on the lights, on some of those things. You know, we're not going to settle for anything less than the best. But we have a lot of talent in our community and people willing to donate time and equipment. And we're not going to have to settle for less than the best. But you're right. Let's not chintz on it. If we can only do two, let's do two right.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. And if we can only afford two, then let's get two, get what we can get, but do it right the first time instead of let's squeeze out four, but they're all half, you know.
Yeah, I agree. So I only have a couple of quick things. Still moving forward on the shooting range. I know that's taking some time. Maybe we need to talk about that, going a little bit different avenue as far as we've done title search and we just need to plug in the easements and some of the encumbrances on that property on the property that we're discussing to put the shooting range on, so that we know where we can put, you know, the different fixtures and things like that without putting them on some of those easements. So that's something that we're still moving forward with. I think there was a couple other things, but I'll take them later. Well, one of them, I know you want to talk about it. So we'll turn the time over to Ryan and let him get his model. And
before I go, could we have Lee take what pictures she needs to do?
oh, sure.
So if she needs to get out, she
Yeah, and Lee, I was gonna tell you too, thanks so much on Fourth of July, that's what it is, Fourth of July is moving forward, thanks so much for advertising for that.
Yeah, of course.
And then one of them was UBIC being council, but we still have, and I mentioned it earlier on in the meeting, we have a lot of people that are still wanting to do their events. And so we talked to Chad. We wanted to make sure that there was no, as little friction between UBIC committee and what others want to do. And I feel like Roosevelt's just trying to facilitate at this point and keep everyone organized so that whatever's happening is somewhat coordinated. And we won't call it EBIC, but we will organize and help coordinate those events and make sure that everything's kind of done in that way. Please go ahead.
RIC, Roosevelt and Celebration.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, we're just gonna take a picture of the council, and I'll put it up on the website. If we get Councilman Barrett here at the next meeting, we'll take another picture. But no pressure, we're just gonna throw it
We
on the
do have
website.
a picture.
Of this council?
Yeah. We do.
Yeah, we took one the first time we were.
I had a beard and I'm like, oh man, I had a beard.
I
Like
think
4
I
years.
took it, but it wasn't as good as what Lee.
That's true.
Well, we're gonna take one now, so we're all gonna go up there, and you'll just shove your chairs to the side so you can fit. And I apologize that we're gonna not social distance for the next couple
You
of
know
minutes.
what?
Just don't breathe on each other.
Hold your breath.
We're not gonna be standing here. I don't make no promises.
Okay, scoot this way, everyone. Slightly, a little bit
That's
more.
the
We're gonna
turn.
put Vince right in the center. So you're gonna be the middle of this picture. Yeah. Okay.
You got the hat on.
You can bring
One of
it.
these guys looks like the others, one of these.
All right, look right at me. We're gonna take 2 in a row. You can switch. That's fine. Okay.
You do what she says, not what you do.
All right, everyone look right here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you. We will get your webpage updated. I appreciate it.
Did you get all their individual?
Yes,
She
all
did.
of these people.
We shot a backdrop though. And she needs to start using better filters on her camera. To take out all the imperfections.
Just run this through Lightroom, create some cool, like, tote bags.
Can you do that? Can you like make my
Just
eyes
delete the
sparkle?
background. Yeah, why not?
A little glow.
She can do it with some pretty quality.
Don't do that.
I'll be real quick. I just have a few things I want to get you up to speed on. First one's the airport. They've been paving the taxiway. Well, the compaction test is 1% lower than it needs to be. But can go in our favor because now if they decide, and they did decide not to tear it out just because of where it is, it's right there at the seam in the center, and there's gonna be an overlay anyway, so this is the underlay. By doing that, they'll probably have to knock off 5%, so kind of goes in our favor.
Is that's just on the taxiway, right?
Taxiway only.
There's a hump too.
Yeah, I'm not
Lee
aware
told me
of
about this morning. They just found a hump.
Are they gonna grind it out
Well,
or they?
he thinks with the next overlay, they'll be able to work it out, but there may be some grinding.
Speed bump.
Yeah. Well, they have such perfect, I mean, it's like incredible standards. I mean, we would probably not notice it, but
It looks good. I went out there and looked at it and I'm like, I don't see a problem here, but we'll take it, or it's not a problem, but.
So
I
they're
think-
just discounting that,
Yeah,
basically.
and it'll be all right. I mean, most of the weight is in the center, you know, your load's on the side, and plus it's gonna have another overlay on it. So I just wanted to get you up to speed on that because they'll be done paving hopefully by tomorrow or Thursday, so.
Cool.
Then they'll be doing grade work and shoulder stuff and little stuff to clean up, so. The 5th East Sidewalk project still going good. They are on schedule.
Looks
So,
good.
yeah, it does look
Those
good.
look good.
That's improved that area a lot, so I'm excited to get that one almost done too. And then the third project that we're gonna be starting up is, so we went into CIB last week. Was that just last week?
That was this Yeah, just last week.
It feels like last night, I'm still smiling. So we got approved for the funding, actually a little better than what we first wanted. So we 50/50 with a 0.5%,
This is for the
2
tank.
million tank.
So to give you a little precursor, when we went in the first time, they had set the project up totally,
They misrepresented it.
yeah, and set the tone for the project very negative actually, in that we didn't need it because we had all this other stuff, and they misrepresented a lot of the facts. And so when they came back with the funding package, so that was the decision to approve the project. When they approved it, the funding package they gave us was all loan, 100% loan at 2.5%. And so you'll probably get into some more of the details, but
No, it's,
Kurt and Ryan and a few of the staff put together a letter
mainly covered.
clarifying
I'm gonna change the number and sign it.
clarifying a lot of the misrepresentations. And then we had a meeting, did we have a meeting with Jones? Well, we met after that with prep meeting and everything else and talking about all the things, but you can take it from here. This is your deal, but I just wanted to say there was a lot of work going into that 0.5% or 0.5% So that means 1.2 million grant, 1.2 million loan at 0.5%. So that it shifted, and Kurt owes me an ice cream cone.
It was pretty intense. But to kind of give you an idea, out of the 6 projects, I think we had the worst package offered
The
to us
way that,
from the first meeting. And so on the funding meeting, I feel like we went worst to first, just like that. I mean,
Didn't you also say Ron Winterton was there and helped or?
yeah, he helped. It was a combined effort. We had some good input, and now they had a better understanding of the project and what we were shooting for, that this just wasn't something we wanted,
Right.
that it was a huge need. And
One other thing that came up, and we had brought it up, and I had brought it up in our last financial meeting, and that was, once we looked at our water budget and worked the depreciation and everything else, and we were actually at a small loss. One of the questions we were asked at CID is, when was the last time we raised our rates, and were we thinking about raising those? And I told them that we had discussed that, and I think that's something that we ought to look at. I know we already approved our budget, but we could reopen that. But I think it's really something the way CID is going right now, and with oil and gas the way it is, all the CID funds come from mineral lease money. And I think if you didn't know that, that's where it comes from. And so when oil's down, CID money and mineral lease money's down. And so they're on a tight budget right now. One of the things that I think we need to do, we got lucky. Not lucky, I mean, we did our homework, and I think we earned what we got, no doubt. It was a united front, and all of us were there pushing and had the right answers, but it's going to be more and more difficult to get those types of fundings, and we need to make sure that we're whole on our depreciation, our O&M, those types of things, so that we don't have to go back and continually ask, because the next time it's going to be much harder. And so I think we ought to look at that and see where we need to be, Kurt, to be whole on our water system, and see what we need to do to adjust those rates. And I know we're at a hard time, and I know maybe we pushed off till next year, but it's definitely a hard discussion that we're going to have and do some adjustments there. It's been 8 years since we raised the rates. I know this year is hard, probably not the right year, but later in the year and in the spring, seeing how things are going as we're monitoring that, I think that we need to do that, or we're going to be in big trouble. And the next time we go back, we're going to be eaten.
yeah, and part of the study, the homework that we did to get prepared for this was, we did call some other cities and see what their rates was, and kind of seeing where we was. And we're kind of like right in the middle of the pack currently.
Mm-hmm.
There's some real high ones and then some pretty low ones, but we're right in the middle.
And I don't think we'd have to raise our rates much maybe just a little bit, that's not that big of a deal, but it would make the difference on the back end.
So overall, we're excited about the project. We haven't decided on time frame yet. I'm still getting with Jones and Mill, and we're just gonna kind of work it to where we can get the best bidding.
So was this, what we got, better than we initially hoped or better than we thought after the last meeting?
We were told that 50-50, we got 50-50 at 2.5% would be a home run.
So this is
So
better.
we're at 0.5% now, so,
And then didn't you get a text that said Christmas came early?
yeah, I got, well, it was,
Just so you know, I did reach out to Irene and Lytle and Mayor Baker and told them thanks for that, because we wouldn't have, Jack Lytle's the one that made the motion. And it squeaked by one, they would tie vote, so.
and this was after somebody mentioned that we would be all right with 1%. Didn't
Yeah.
we mention that?
I actually did, because they,
So I was kind
Well,
of shocked on
and
what
the
happened.
reason why is, no, it was, one of them asked, what's the most you can take? And I piped up and I said, look, the most we can absolutely take is a 50-50 split at 1%. We've already done all of our, and we let them know our situation with oil and gas and all that stuff. Ron was, it was, but, and somebody didn't think we were even gonna get the 50-50 split. I was 100% confident we'd get the 50-50 with one based on the body language I was seeing. But, the 0.5% I didn't see coming. So.
So anyway, ice cream was on the line. The last thing I only had was the website. I don't know if you guys got that link I sent you with the master plan. Look at that and go through it, because there's a lot of questions that get asked that could be answered in there, because we have it in there. But if there's things that you see as a concern, just email me or text me and let me know when you look at it, because it's always changing. We can change that, so.
That reminds me, Ryan, something that we talked about that was going to be on this meeting's agenda but wasn't, so we can't really vote on it. And I don't think we even need to spend a lot of time on it, is the airport board. So Grant drew up a resolution to reinstate the airport board, make some modifications. We'll get that out to council. Where it's a resolution, we don't have to necessarily have a public hearing. We've done that with our other two committees for a couple of reasons. We wanted to get the committees up and going and then fine tune them. Once we have them dialed in where we want, we will codify it into an ordinance. But so that resolution will be coming to you guys, and you can look at it. Vince, I'm sure you want to look at it. We want to get that airport board up and going pretty
Do
soon.
you want that on the next council meeting?
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll put that on July.
And then we'll get you that early and have you look at it and go through it. It's pretty simple, pretty basic, but we want to make sure that one gets presented to the council by next meeting.
You say he's prepared the resolution?
It's already done.
Okay,
Do you have, we can email it to you. Do you have a copy of it? He showed me, no, he emailed me a copy, so I have a copy. He just did that yesterday, so I just got it yesterday.
We got one more thing that Kurt, he hasn't had enough. He's got one more thing.
Kurt?
Yeah, before you go into your closed session.
But you did mention the website thing, so I checked it out. So the link is there, but it's this camera. Where does that camera go?
Zoom meeting.
This is Zoom.
Where's the link to the Zoom meeting?
That is posted on
Facebook.
the agenda, Facebook, on how they can link on.
it's at the state, on the state website too.
Yeah. So
UNPC.
for this camera, you don't see it until we're actually live. And then when you go on there, it'll actually have the screen, it'll say live. That's the only time you're gonna see it.
And the Zoom meetings are only for public hearings,
Oh, okay.
because otherwise we're not looking for public comment.
Are you still the only one on Zoom?
I am the only one. There have been a couple of other attendees. One of them was listed as Taryn's phone. I don't know who that might be. Maybe Taryn.
So I understand what this does. This is for what use, the Zoom meeting? Is it also for
More
public?
for interaction.
We're bringing that in and Zoom in for the public hearing. Only.
And I kind of failed to ask if there are any comments, but,
Yeah, if they're already, I'll let you know.
okay.
If there's someone that's not comfortable still coming down here, they can still get on and comment.
So like the zoning
Yes,
question. So
Exactly.
where is that link again? Because,
I'll have Matt explain it the best.
Yeah,
You
and we can do that after the meeting. So just don't
Okay,
shut it
sure.
off after the meeting so I can go through that. Because I've had several people keep asking me
Okay,
about that and being able to comment for public comment. Sure. So that's what I want to also find out. But this
Now-
one was really easy to find out.
Okay, I want to make it easier, so I requested to leave, let's have it when we have our meeting, to have it as a button right at first. So when you open it up,
Like a
boom, it's
banner.
right there live. So it'll only be there when we have the day of our meeting, and then it'll be pushed back. So hopefully you don't need to explain, go there, go here. It'll just be bring up the website, should be right there on the front page.
Cool.
So,
Great. Thank you, Kurt. You're back.
Thank you. And Councilman White, talking about the CARES Act. The state of Utah received $1.25 billion. Portion of that went to Salt Lake County, Utah County, and the state. And Roosevelt City's been allocated approximately $620,000. That'll be distributed to the city in 3 allotments. The first allotment actually is ready. We just have to complete the.
I read through that and I was gonna sign it, but there's a couple of questions. Well, I just wanted to make sure I was filling in the blanks right. So maybe right after this meeting, we can hurry and do that and I can electronically sign it and get it done.
And there are a lot of restrictions, specifically related to how the money can be used. You have to be able to, we as a city can be reimbursed for direct COVID-related expenses related to sick leave, if we had to make any modifications to building, for social distancing, or the plexiglass up front that's by Randy's desk, hand sanitizer, masks, if we've had anything like those types of things made. There still is a lot of gray area. I've read that you're only able to pay up to 80 hours of sick leave for somebody who was affected, but I've also seen where you can do more than that. And in my experience with grants at UBAC, you have to be careful because you can be told, here's the rule right now, and you follow that rule, but then when it comes back later on, why did you do that? Well, that's the rule at the time. Well, that's not what the rule ended up being. We don't have an estimate of how much the city could be reimbursed for. And I was on that presentation with Quinn yesterday. And what Uinta County, Naples, Ballard, and Vernal are doing is they're pooling their allocations and providing business grants to their businesses. And Quinn sent me their draft of their application. And I just wanted to present before the council that we need to consider how we can use that money. And if we don't if it needs to be used by the end of December, and $620,000 is a lot of money to use with the type of restrictions that are built in. And I just wanted to talk about that. And there are 3 allocations. One would be pretty much immediately, and the others are estimated to be in August and October. Yeah.
I don't have timing, but the way they broke it down, and I don't know if this has been publicly shared, but in the first 100 days, that reimbursement goes back to the community, to small businesses. 250 days, that's supposed to go towards infrastructure. 500 days plus it says reimagined incentives, and I don't remember what they said.
No, that's a lot more information than I.
And I don't know I think that 4.0 plan probably hasn't really been publicly shared yet, but it will be, I think, after today.
So just informational more than anything. So.
Is it use it or lose it type funds?
Yes, if we don't anticipate using it, we need to let the state know by the 30th of November, and then they'll reallocate it to another entity that
And
will.
we have enough need in our community.
Yeah, I figured there was. I just want to make sure I knew if it was, because some things are use it or lose it, some are not quite.
I really wish it wasn't.
I
And
know.
the reason why is because we want to revitalize Main Street. And if we can do a revolving loan fund and start our own loan grant mix, like assistance to those businesses down there, we got to figure out how to do that. And that's one of the things that we need to follow up with Kurt and Ryan with the revitalization of Main Street. So that's something that, as this COVID kind of took place, got dropped, the ball got dropped a little bit. We'll need to pick that up, and I'm to blame as much as anybody. We'll need to pick that back up and get rolling with that. And the TIF, tax incremental financing, those types of things that we can do to build that fund, we need to look at so that we can get working on it.
Is that something we need to talk about next month and vote on anything, or?
Well, it's really left up to the discretion of the entity. And once again, there's so much flexibility in how in how Roosevelt can get money, as long as it doesn't make up for budget shortfalls and those types of things.
Maybe what we can do is in our just regular, in our day-to-day meetings, weekly meetings, we can start coming up with some ideas that we can present to council on how to do that and make sure that we get it spent, if we have to spend it, get it spent in the best way possible.
And also, just really quick, for the public record, we have that bear grant for $20,000. We still need 8 applications. There's still $8,000 available. So, and that has to be done by the end of June. And had Lee, I don't know, make a mention of that again on social media. So anybody who's watching or anybody you know that any business that was adversely affected by COVID and has a current business license, provide some type of a statement or letter of how COVID-19 adversely affected their business. And they just have to show proof, some type of bills. So we've gotten applications that have business license, their statement of hardship, Roosevelt City bill, Strata bill. So we're able to grant them up to the $1,000, but they have to have proof with their bills that they have at least $1,000.
Great. Thanks, Kurt.
You're welcome.
One thing I need to mention, I made a comment, I got chastised in a letter. I made a comment last meeting about just forgetting about the process of hiring a new city manager and just having Ryan. I know that was partly in jest, but partly because he's doing such a great job. But just for the public, if there's anybody watching, because it was an anonymous letter, so if there's anybody watching tonight, there were some suggestions that they had on how we should choose a new city manager. But I wanted to make it very clear, we've hired a consultant to help us with that. We had 58 applicants that applied. That has been narrowed down to 10. We're at 10 right now. The process that is be taken now moving forward is Jim Mercer will be contacting those 10 by phone, doing phone interviews and those types of things, and getting an idea of who they are, and he'll end up narrowing that pool to about 6 or 7. At that point, then we'll get everybody involved. Melissa's been involved somewhat, as much as I have, as far as going through that process. So we are working through that process, and we will follow through with that process. It was, like I said, it was more in jest, but and we want it to be as transparent as it possibly can, and that's why we've done it this way. So anyway, I apologize for my comment, but I really kind of meant it, just because Ryan has done such a good
You've
job.
done a good job, and you'd be glad to be done. Right?
I always find a way to make this meeting awkward.
Is your application still in?
He never did. Okay. And that's the thing, is Ryan
Well,
never
he
did.
did, but I think you feel bad.
And that's, yeah, so that was the other thing, is Ryan, I've already had many conversations with Ryan, and he hasn't submitted an application, but I'm always poking him that, and that was more of as much of a poke as a thank you for the job that he's done. So I just wanted to make sure that our public knows that we're continuing with the process that we initially started with, and that was Yeah, so any other comment before we move into a closed session?
We don't need a motion, right?
We do need a motion, and so, the closed session, so we'll need a motion to go into closed session for personnel issues and also, land acquisition. And, so we need a motion to go into and then come out of closed session. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to go into closed session to talk about personnel and land acquisition,
And then come back into open
and
session.
then come into open.
Okay, do you have a second? Second by Alan, because he's closer, he's the first to the alphabet. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll consider ourselves, we'll go into closed session. Thank you all.
Will you get a hold of Ben?
I will. Any other thoughts or discussion on the agenda at hand? I think we went through most everything.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, we got a motion to adjourn, so we got a second. Second, all right, we'll consider ourselves adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Ryan, thanks again for taking care of the pictures, so I don't have to redo it.